This is Courtney. I play McKenna Ali, your favorite Loxodon. Well, let's be honest, your favorite character. I want to thank you for joining us on this adventure. Starlight has taken a lot of love from all four of us, and from the bottom of our hearts, we are so thankful. Every review, every subscribe, every Patreon subscriber, or in any way that you give back to Starlight means the world to us. And in case you didn't know, each rating or review helps reveal our podcast for those finding new podcasts and adventures to go on. I truly hope you enjoy the venture ahead. Until next time, see you later, Spacers.
You ever get tired of drawing maps and having your players ruin your hard work by teleporting away? Or using Charm Creature to avoid that glorious boss battle set in that laboriously crayon-drawn map? Yeah, me too. Well, that's my problem no more. Starlight Maps and Battle Mats are now sponsored by the beautiful artwork of Loki Battle Mats. From lavish palaces to cold alien caverns, they have a solution for everything. The maps come in big books that are easily transported, can be drawn on with erase markers, and immerse the players with a stunning reality. They'll forget they aren't actually standing by that pool of lava. And battle mats are only the beginning of what Loki has to offer. Want to know more? Go check them out. Or stop by our YouTube to see what they have to offer. Now, let's roll.
And then, so when you look at the right of the sheet, you see shield bubbles. You have a forward, a port, a starboard, and an aft. And you see 3 different bubbles. The bubbles, they represent how much damage you can take before the shields fail and your ship starts taking damage. Different ships have different amount of bubbles. You'll get like the sheet saying that. But basically, it'll also say if your bubbles are black or red. Most bubbles will be black. And red bubbles, 1 bubble is worth 3. And so weapons damage, when you're attacking someone, weapons damage is represented by like literal just, if your ship hits, this is the damage. So like on a compact starship, its forward guns is +3 to hit, and it does 2 damage. So if wherever you hit on the shields, if you hit, you'll just cross off 2 shields. In order to start doing permanent damage to a ship, you either need to make a hit with a critical, and in that case, does the damage to the shield, and you also cross off an HP. As well as, the reason why you have these different shields that are in this way is orientation. This is the forward, port, starboard, aft. So let's say you have an enemy kind of come up on the side. Let's say you have a crew of 3 and a crew of 3. Let's say you have a standard ship. They have a non-standard ship where they actually have 2 gunners on the port side and none on the starboard. So the 2 gunners are able to attack twice over here. In order for them to actually do damage to your HP without a critical, is they need to reduce all your shields on that side. So the pilot can actually move the ship into more defensive positions based on the shields.
Got it.
Basically, your life is in my hands.
Pretty much.
I'll just sit next to you the whole time.
All right, that works. I need a co-pilot anyway.
For the speeders and stuff, personal weapons, like weapons you guys have, like if you're in a situation where you can lean out a window and shoot, personal weapons always do 1 damage, with the exception of like certain weapons, like the mass driver. But you have to have a critical for it to actually affect.
If you like lean out of the window in space,
oh, you're screwed unless you're like a gray.
Okay, that's what.
But everyone else is screwed because they're getting sucked out.
Don't worry, guys, I got this.
I think that's the definition of space opera. Anything goes.
Yeah.
For your weapons, they can be on all sides. I'm going to show you guys the land speeder chart right here. This land speeder chart, it tells me that you only have weapons on the forward, whereas like say like the Starship Combat, it has weapons on the forward, starboard, and port side. What that means is whoever is in the forward position and based on size, land speeders are small, so generally only one person can be in the front position. If you had like an extra small character and a regular size character, I'd consider being able to share that. But what that means is because the pilot position is in the front, and unless it otherwise says so, all the pilot positions are going to be in the front. The pilot's going to be the only one that can actually move and attack with the speeder. It'd also tell you that your shields are black, so your shield's only worth 1 point. Whereas like when you get to bigger ships, the like actual fighting vessels, they'll often have like red shields that have more health.
So if you had a red shield and your shield got hit, would it turn into black and then?
No, it just like whereas the black's worth 1 point.
Just take more.
Yeah,
okay.
It's basically you have like 9 points of a shield, and then whoever's gunning there to hit will be their dexterity modifier plus their proficiency bonus, if they have proficiency in piloting. And then we'll just get into like the basics. Like you guys can see the actions and what they do, but the basics of it is the dodge. It's the same as D&D rules as written. Only the pilot can take an action to dodge, and when you do that, it gives the attacks against you disadvantage. The pilot can take an action to do a barrel roll, where it flips the ship upside down, and right at the beginning of your next turn. So it flips the ship upside down and then rights at the beginning of your next turn. So basically, like the barrel roll makes it so like, let's say Atlas is on. Let's say you guys are like this, right? Atlas is on this side. McKenna's not on a gunner position. She is like doing some like repair on the engines or something, or wherever her shield was hit. And you're like, I can't maneuver my ship fast enough to get on the other side for Atlas to make an attack. A barrel roll would flip your ship upside down, which would allow you to make an attack.
Yeah,
but
you'd be on that side, right?
Right, and then it writes at the beginning of your next turn.
Cool.
But if you fail, like a lot of these rolls have DC checks, and so if you fail the barrel roll check right, the enemy's next attack can be made with advantage on you. And you can see that it goes down along the line. So, and then as your ship's health goes down, it has the chance to in the first bubble glitch, malfunction, and then wreck. And one thing I'll say, if your ship fails all its death saving throws, once it's like at that point, and you guys don't get off the ship, you will all die immediately.
Oh wow!
Well, because it'll blow up.
Awesome. So ships are great.
Yeah. And then Sam, like you had said, you asked about like escaping. That's on the last page. So in order to like, let's say either escape or make a hyper jump. So your first example, to make a hyper jump, you need a clear line of sight. You can't have anything in front of you. And you need at least 3 hexes from an enemy to make a jump without disadvantage. The jump without disadvantage is you can make the jump. It's just like, it's gonna be like you're making a piloting astrogation check. And like if you don't hit your DC, you could end up somewhere random.
Yeah.
And then to escape another ship, you need to like make opposed piloting checks for you to outmaneuver it. And then you have to follow that up the next turn with a stealth roll. And that also doesn't get detected. Otherwise, the chase continues.
Can you get knocked out of hyperspace?
I haven't thought about it, but I don't see why not.
Well, because I'm just thinking, like, if you fail an escape attempt, like if you say you fail the sneak or whatever,
Yeah.
and they follow you into the hyper jump,
Yeah.
and what if they just start like firing missiles at you or something, and you get like you get hit, like not destroyed, but like then you get just knocked off trajectory or something crazy happens.
I haven't thought about that, but that'd be good because I have like a D100 like small chance of like if you make a jump and you failed your astrogation check. That could also be game over in some sense. Like it's a very small chance, but I have it like because you didn't make a clear jump, you end up in a black hole or something.
Yeah.
So there is that, but that actually is a really cool idea. And then I guess the only thing to explain is like the reason why you would switch positions from say a gunner to like a repair position is because like you have the chance to fix shields and stuff. Once you fail a check on that shield, you can't fix it again until it like actually goes in to a shop or something, or like makes stock, or has like, essentially a long rest. Other than that, combat rules are pretty much the same in terms of like actions you can take. And the only other thing that I forgot to put on here was drift. So whatever your ship's speed is, your ship's going to continue drifting that way. So like as a pilot, your main action is moving the ship and maneuvering it.
Yeah.
It's, let's say that like as a pilot, you shift positions out of piloting and no one's piloting the ship for a second.
It'll just kind of.
It'll move its speed ahead.
Okay.
It'll drift
Okay.
in whatever
Is that like
direction it's
whatever
already
direction?
going.
Bada boom, bada bing. Hey guys, welcome to Starlight. We are super happy to finally have another Q&A where we, the cast and crew of Starlight, are going to pick apart all of the crazy kind of solo games that we've had so far and see what was going on in each and every spacer's mind. That being said, I would like to take this quick moment to say thank you to all the people who have joined our Discord community. We just had a giveaway on there, and it is a great place. You can find it in all of our social media links. If you want to get plugged in to a D&D community, get a chance to talk with us, pick our brains, or as well as just meet other people, put up your own self-promotions. Check it out. It's super fun, and we hope to continue growing it. And lastly, thank you to our Patreon subscribers, Volcanic, as well as James. You guys are awesome. You are making this show continue to support itself. And if you want to get involved and get extra content, bonus episodes, quarterly gifts, check us out at our Patreon. But without further ado, let's introduce everyone. I'm Isaac, your GM and host, and I will go over to my left here.
I'm Courtney. I play McKenna Ali. You're probably your favorite character on Starlight. And I'll shoot it over to Nathan.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I play Atlas.
And I'm Sam, and I play your actual favorite character, Clive Jensen.
Haha. Yeah, right.
Oh, we actually haven't had a poll between if McKenna or Clive is better, but we've had polls between Atlas and McKenna, and I think Atlas has won those polls.
What?
It makes
So,
sense.
That's
I mean,
wrong.
maybe we can have a contest
It makes a
for
little sense.
least favorite.
Yeah, let's just make sure we put the GM in that one, too.
No, we're gonna lose. What the
Whoa.
heck?
You said
We're gonna
least-
lose.
You said least favorite? Yeah. I'm
Oh,
gonna make
least
sure
favorite.
The GM is in it.
No. I thought it was best. I thought it was the favorite.
Okay. I mean, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it there. I can be the most hated villain if you guys like.
Good, because you are.
Thank you. Wow. So, guys, so much crazy stuff has happened. From everyone kind of going their own individual ways. I know that for March we did an all McKenna adventure, mostly because she had a lot to accomplish. So she ended up having 3 episodes. Atlas had 2, and Clive had 1. And so 2 months later, we have finally completed all the solo adventures. So I'm going to kick this off right here, right now. And in no particular order, chime in when you guys want. But I'm curious. Tell me your guys' thoughts on each of your own individual stories.
I'll go first. I have fallen in love with playing McKenna more through her own individual story, and having adopted a child is so in her character. Going after a brain in a vat is so in her character. And just like having a fake husband is so in her character. Like everything about what's happening right now is just so McKenna. And so I'm loving it. And I love that I'm getting to explore this new aspect of who she is. And I actually I love the story building and world building aspects of D&D. And so this has been all story. There's been 0 battles in McKenna. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that there were no battles,
Yeah.
but more of a little bit of intrigue, kind of
Right.
the planning element of D&D. That was more of your conflict and kind of fulfilling character motivation.
Right, and that's what I love about D&D, and so that was a true joy to play. Am I supposed to just say my own, or my thoughts on everyone?
Just on your own for now.
Okay, because I have a lot of thoughts on Atlas's too.
We can get to that in a bit.
I think I can go next.
Okay, who's next?
I think I can go next. Thoughts on my story, or Clive's story, I should say. It's still a little clouded, to be honest with you. He hasn't got a whole lot of. I mean, I only had the chance to play one game so far, and I was gone for a while before that. So, but I've always really loved stories of self-discovery, and I feel like that's kind of what he's on. I've always loved stories with a little bit more of a mystery kind of aspect to it, and I think that fits his character very well, considering he's the brooding cybernetic cowboy that doesn't understand himself. And I think with his personality and his character style, teaming up with Atlas and McKenna to hopefully eventually discover where it is that he came from and why he was created. I think with their personalities and his personality, it's just going to make for just a wild ride, and I'm super excited for it.
Alrighty. So for Atlas, I'd say that. Well, one, personally, obviously, we've already talked about it, but I enjoyed the solo episodes that I had. I think it also was nice to be able to kind of like showcase the transformation initially, kind of when he rages. So that was pretty cool to show. And then, obviously everyone knows I have a spacing out issue, but is that I think it was nice to kind of go into it. Plus now people are kind of getting a little peek at kind of like Alice's backstory, with like kind of his connections with one of the Acers, but also his own personal kind of like life that he almost never speaks about. And then so it's kind of nice to just be able to showcase that in a sense, and then kind of get people introduced to that side of Atlas.
I know I'm the one who really asked the question here, but I did just want to jump in and say there were no battles in these, but it was nice, and I hope other GMs or players maybe look at this, and if it can be helpful, that's cool. But not every encounter has to be a battle, right? And it was kind of fun doing it was a lot of fun doing the gambling game of Ante with Atlas, and I feel like that was like a really great stand-in for combat. That's just a little aside. It was incredibly fun, and I had no clue that who was going to win. I actually thought you were going to crush Boris there on the end.
Oh, when I took his loaded dice.
Okay, speaking of that. Speaking of that scenario, does Atlas have a gambling problem? Because that was pretty high stakes. Like, is this something that we should be aware of going forward?
Well, Atlas sort of introduced his very like kind of high risk, no care for self kind of attitude. Because like in the very beginning of Starlight, he played a game with I forget his name, but the orcish the painter. Yeah.
I remember that.
So he played a cup game with him. Atlas is just, I don't know, throughout his life I feel like it's a way he's used to I don't know, not really excitement, but almost just that, like that it almost kind of like the adrenaline rush people. It's kind of like just that extra thing.
That makes sense. I was pretty stressed out listening to that whole thing.
So to add on to Courtney's question about Atlas, would you say that his apt for gambling is part of the reason why he became an Acer? High risk, high reward sort of work?
Alice was more. I mean, Alice was mainly trying not to obviously say too much yet, but he is mainly kind of just fell into being an acer in a sense. But yeah, I think it kind of just comes with the fact that through combat. Also, as everyone can normally tell, Alice doesn't really care too much about dangerous situations or like dying. Like, Alice doesn't really care about it, like that whole self-care kind of thing. He doesn't really think about it too much. And I think gambling would just added a element to his life that was more, after some tragic things that have happened, it kind of just, I don't know, it added that next step of, or not that next, or that it's kind of like anyone with a vice or addiction. You kind of just get attached to it in a sense when you're in a low place. That's kind of like Atlas.
Okay, can I just throw another question at Atlas since we're throwing questions at you
Go
right
ahead.
now? Okay, you will you promise to answer the question?
To the best of my ability.
Who is the gal you're not talking to?
Oof.
You're like paying for her life, you're paying for everything, but you're not like answering her calls.
This is more a question that I would let the Patreon team know a little bit, but
Okay, then I'll just start paying on Patreon.
Hey, that's my wallet too.
The best way I can answer it is that she is somebody that is probably one of the like longest knowing people, like one of the people that have known Alice the longest. Okay, here. This is a good spicy answer. She's known Alice before he was Atlas.
Ooh.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
There was
What?
a before Atlas.
So you're like Jesus, you were born
Interesting.
again.
No.
Born
no,
again
no.
is the most powerful
His
in the
name was
universe.
Bob.
It's true.
Before this, Atlas was a insurance seller
Average
named
Joe.
Bob. Had a
Okay, I wanted a better answer than that, Alex.
Well, what about you?
Wait.
As McKenna, you're hounding him, but can we talk about adoption? Truly, we've speculated at it before. We didn't speculate, we knew.
Mhm.
But you adopted Caesar.
I did.
Yeah, like, how do you plan on actually being a mother to this troubled youth?
Well, the plan. Well, here's the thing. So I learned. If everyone who's listened has learned that Cisa has a sister, and the sister's on XR1, right? Is that accurate? She's working in a cafe.
So to clarify, XR1 is a planetary or like a solar system.
Oh, okay.
So think of more like a quadrant name. She's on the planet of, I believe, Indul.
Okay. She's on Indul working in a cafe. And I think McKenna is now kind of realizing, okay, Cisa's almost an adult anyways. He's not going to need a quote unquote mom forever. And so what is her role as a motherly figure to Cisa? And she did learn that he has a sister on Indul and that they were separated because they're both synths. And everyone hates synths right now. And so I think she is seeing reuniting Cisa with his sister as almost a chance to act as a mom in a way that she couldn't before. Or the way that some would say wouldn't, some would say couldn't. Like, she couldn't be a mom in the way she needed to be a mom to her daughter, who was killed, sacrificed. I know someone's going to throw that word in there. And so this seems like her opportunity to take Cisa and to reunite him with his sister. And if from there, that's her only role as a mom, I think she'd be okay with that. If her role continues with Cisa and maybe with his sister as well, she'd be okay with that as well. So that's where things are right now.
Okay. And I'm sure everyone else has like a question for you, but I just want to quickly follow up on that, on more of a practicality side. So like that's character motivation story side from you as a player, Courtney, and you haven't quite done it yet in terms of like having Sisa as like kind of filling in the role as NPC follower. And so there's a little bit of balance where I'm going to be running Sisa, but you are also going to have a lot of weight and say in the situation that he actually does come with you. How do you envision as a player in giving advice to other players who are going to have in their own games animal followers, beast followers, NPC followers? What are some strategies that you're going to have as a player to tell Sisa's story as it intertwines with McKenna's without taking the narrative and making it all encompassing around those two things? Because now you've with Sisa and deciding to go through with adopting him, again, part of it's on me as a GM to balance this out, but you as a player, how do you think about starting to balance that out and make sure you're not taking you're giving the due time to your other players to shine as well?
Right. I think we'll kind of make this easy. I'm going to bring it back to the McKenna and then I'll bring it back to strategy. Is that McKenna ultimately wants Sisa to be safe. So she's never going to put him in a scenario where his life is on the line, right? And I think she'll be hyper conscious of that. So keeping that in mind, I think Sisa will always be kind of in the background. And so I think that's how like supporting characters should be, is kind of in the background supporting your main character. And so I think Sisa will be doing behind the scene things the whole time, ideally helping to help us with our mission and helping to like find his sister and how to get there and maybe organizing and coordinating things versus like on the ground in combat. So I think, if you have like an animal handling, you're going to use that character in combat to support you 9 times out of 10. But I think when you have a supporting character like Sisa, like he's going to be doing the organizing and coordinating, which is great because as the DM what needs to be done behind the scenes. So I'm going to kind of put your brain to work through Sisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Almost like remembering kind of what the overall point behind the character is, and then using it to highlight the overall goal for everyone.
Right. Yeah, that's the plan. All right.
I have a
Clive, I'm curious.
Hold over. I have a quick question for you, McKenna, before we move on.
Yes.
Knowing that the scenario in which you adopted Sisa was completely false, as you went in as somebody completely different. After then, later on, hearing Sisa's very depressing, sad story, how did McKenna feel knowing that she had once again shattered this child's vision of truth by lying and putting him into the situation?
Hard hitting.
She feels like the details don't matter.
That's a McKenna answer.
It doesn't matter how she really adopted Sisa. As long as Sisa is adopted and he's in good hands and he's safe, like the details don't matter.
But wouldn't you say that because you lied,
no,
or because McKenna lied, that for a time Sisa was technically in danger, since Thirstein has a much different view of him than you do?
I can see your point of view. Will not legitimize your point of view, because for a brief moment Thirstein was my husband, and I will not speak poorly.
Is that something that McKenna hopes to continue, or is that...
No. McKenna's very much attracted to Loxodons. Again, the bigger the trunk, the better. So there's no need. Like, I will never be attracted. There's a lot of concern about Atlas. Never going to be attracted to Atlas. It was a joke when I said I was his girlfriend and we're on vacation. never going to be attracted to thirsting. I need the trunk. So there's no concern there.
I need the trunk.
The trunk.
Yep.
I need that on a shirt.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, and then there's going to be a big picture of a trunk on the shirt. Yes.
You're in charge of making those for Christmas orders.
All right. Yeah.
It's my
And then-
trunk in a
Stop.
box.
And then Atlas's is going to be strongest in the universe. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
What is
man.
Clive's shirt going to say?
I don't know.
Oh, I missed everything.
Wow. You were holding on to that one for a while. Jeez. It's quick on the draw there.
No. What would Clive say?
I don't know, actually. I haven't really thought about it. He doesn't really have like a motto or anything like that yet. I'll think about it.
That's
I'll think about
true.
it and get back to you.
All right.
I will say I did finally find the perfect theme song music for Clive, and
Ooh.
I think it's next month's first episode. You'll hear it, and it's phenomenal.
Oh, I'm excited.
So everyone look out.
I'm excited.
Okay, Clive, I was curious. Now I'm curious about you, Clive. So there's been a few hints of your connection to the Shrine Cross now, right? How are you feeling about that? What are your thoughts about that? What are your steps forward in terms of pursuing that more?
Well, it seems like, or at least based off what Clive found, it seems like the next best lead for him is to find the Sunmaker. So his plan right now is to just continue along with Atlas and McKenna, always watching his back, of course, because he still doesn't 100% trust any of you, especially after coming back and discovering all of the things that you guys were involved in, which, listeners, you'll get to that in due time. But I think his next task is really just to find the Sunmaker. I think that's his main focus at this point, since that seems to be the only reason, the only connection he has to the Shrine Cross. But he's also going to start looking into Thyra more, I believe, just because there are quite a bit of rumors going around about her, and if she is somewhat involved with the synths in any way, then she's definitely going to also have information that I need. So I think that's kind of Clive's main focus at this point.
I can say she's very much involved with the sense.
Well, yeah. No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
I was done. You're good.
Okay. I was just gonna pose this between all of you. Thyra, bad guy or good guy?
Neutral. I think she's one of those. I think she's one of those. If you had to put it in D&D terms, I would say chaotic neutral, whereas she doesn't mind helping people or doing questionable things, as long as it's to further pursue whatever it is that she's after. She seems like that kind of character to me.
Yeah, I have to agree. It just seems to be. Well, I'm thinking of this actually from Atlas's standpoint, but he just seems to be kind of very just exactly what Sam said, in a sense of just basically just trying to have whatever business or goals that she has, but she doesn't seem to be actually evil in a sense.
I have no idea. I think there's moments where I think she's a terrible person, and then other moments where I'm like, oh, she must be halfway decent. And so I can't answer that question.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
I have a question for Isaac.
Ooh.
So, basically, I'm happy for everything that's basically happened so far. But what's one thing that surprised you the most in this campaign? In any story arc or any kind of fork road or whatever? What surprised you the most? Or what did you not expect?
Oh man. What have I not expected? Okay, so one thing I didn't expect was I knew it was going to happen, that we were going to have, like, life happens, and so somebody needs to, like, sit out a few games, whatever, that's normal. And then maybe we'll play, like, a solo game to get them caught up, or we just kind of run their character on autopilot. I wasn't expecting a split of 3 ways, at least so early in the game. And I absolutely loved it, because I think part of why we do this is the biggest part is to have fun, and it's our game. So yeah, if we were playing without recording, we would do all this anyways. So that's awesome. And I also think this is pretty realistic for an actual D&D game, and maybe it helps other people. So I think that's awesome. In terms of true surprises, in character arcs, I think that I was very surprised about McKenna's plan of when the idea was posed to her about, like, well, how do we, like, Grimble's saying, like, hey, I'll help you get speaker holes to get the trunk back, and I'm pretty sure basically that Klazezel is being held under, or something to do with the orphanage. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be like a pretty straightforward, like, reconnaissance mission, classic D&D. And I wasn't expecting her to go in under the guise of adoption and to actually adopt. So after I realized she said that, I think, like, my jaw dropped for a second, and I was like, oh, snaps. I'm going to have to play a kid. And I mean, just her saying that was the plan, that's what surprised me. It didn't surprise me that she followed through with it. The big thing that surprised me has been, I think, the way that Nathan, you have played Atlas in handling your interactions with Gorn. There had been times when I thought you would go in for combat, and you've completely shown a different side of Atlas, and I was not expecting a full-on, like, let's get involved with the Acers on this, because I think it's not. I'll admit I wasn't prepared for that, as something that would happen, and it radically changed the nature of how willing Gorn was to work with you guys. And pulling back the screen a little bit, you guys probably cut out by doing that, you cut out a big chunk of work in terms of what would need to be done in Nanoy. And but as far as, like, have I been surprised by, like, any personal reveals of your guys's? Not yet. And I think that's because we're still rather new into, not new, but, like, really just getting into the meat of your guys' stories. So for better or for worse, I've been able to predict a lot of things in the direction things are going. But I think that's because everyone's such good communicators. Yeah.
Can I throw that question back to everyone else? Like, what's been most surprising for you guys? That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I would say
it would have to be the approach to the adoption by McKenna. Only because when the campaign first started, she was so intent on finding the Sunmaker, to the point where a few of the altercations that we got in stemmed from that drive to find him. But it almost seems like now, because, like, it kind of reveals a little bit about how dark McKenna's past might have been when you look at how she's acting towards this adoption, almost to the point where it seems like she's not necessarily forgotten about the Sunmaker, but it seems like he's definitely dropped in priority. So it honestly makes me a lot more interested in McKenna's backstory, because she comes off first as this, happy-go-lucky Loxodon, when clearly there's something a lot darker that's a lot darker developing there, and so I'm really curious to see where that's headed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna also say probably McKenna's McKenna right now. 5, I'm still waiting until it gets deeper, until he finds out more about like its like past and everything, and then when that happens, that'd be pretty cool to see. But right now, I'm gonna say that yeah, the adoption. Atlas can say yes and no. I mean, yeah, he was. It's obviously a surprise, but McKenna's very kind of random. So, but yeah, as Nathan, like, yeah, I think the surprising thing for me was that one, there's now, yeah, the adoption happened. Also, in a sense, too, I don't know. It's just he's basically just trying to see where things are going. Things kind of keep jumping. Like, it seems like something's going a certain way, and then like even for Atlas's side, it's like, but it seems like everyone's like kind of going a certain way, and then they have to like make a kind of dire, or what is it called? A drastic decision? I don't know the words too well, but yeah, just like a big decision that kind of can like turn the whole story. Kind of like the adoption and then everything else. It's like, who knows actually where everything's gonna actually go now.
Right. Right.
I have a quick.
Well, I'm glad I can keep you all on your toes.
I have a quick follow-up question to the first part of your response earlier, Isaac, about the solo episodes. Considering now that we've gone through them and we've completed, a few for each character, and they've been, for the most part, seemingly successful. Is that something that you think you would pursue later on in this campaign? Like, you would like to see more splitting up of the party? Or do you still stand by the old D&D adage of not splitting the party? And would you recommend other DMs or GMs possibly pursue side stories like that?
For me personally, I love solo games. I don't think that I don't think that they should be like a norm. They should be almost like, if you're reading a book and you finish like part 1 of a book and you get like a little break, like an interlude or something more like that, because it's refreshing for everyone. It's certainly for me, because sometimes when you're playing, you don't get to highlight that player enough or their individual arc enough. And for both the GM and player, it reinforces why we love those characters and makes us think more like those characters, or makes the GM like say, how do I dial it in more for this character? And I think too that everyone has so many thoughts that from an audience standpoint, there is just not enough time in any one given episode, unless you're playing 4.5-hour campaigns per episode, which we would die if we did that. There's just not enough time to get everyone's individual thoughts out per thing, like what they're thinking. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't necessarily pursue it and say like, in the sense of like, oh, you guys should make sure you split up or whatever. I will never discourage it. I think it's nothing but good. I just don't think it's good when it's like, because like, so for the audience to know, we've already played the next month's adventures already, and there was a moment where I think McKenna kind of threatened for a hot second, and it was totally in character, but she threatened like, oh, I might just go my own way. And I don't think that that's necessarily super healthy to like come back together and suddenly split off again. Mm-hmm. And especially in like a podcast or show form, you can do that a lot more in individual tables that you're just doing for fun. But again, if you do it too much, you start taking away from the collaborative story and making it about you, which if that's what you want to do, you should find a GM who wants to play an individual game with you for mini sessions. But then the second part of your question is, would I encourage that for other GMs, or would I say never split the party? I would say if you're not comfortable enough to split the party, like you don't feel like you're ready to do that, there's nothing wrong with saying no. It's the GM has to have fun. Like the idea of like only the players have fun is silly, like because if the GM burns out or gets frustrated, now nobody has a game. So that's kind of in the power of the GM. But I stand by the fact of like splitting the party is really not more work. It adds nothing but good things. And the way I see it is it's a game. So knowing that the characters can die from that, and as long as the players know that, it's totally fine. And oftentimes it makes it more fun because it's more risky. And I would say the idea of having to balance encounters, I would say don't really worry about that. If you have a world already built and you already have a general idea, and let's say your characters are splitting up because one person's going to go scout the keep of the castle, there's no reason for you to go spend as a GM 8 hours or 6 hours changing your encounters so that way it's balanced for the one character. That doesn't feel realistic. So you don't really have to do much to change the work. They just need to know that there's the threat there, and it raises the ante of the game, and it makes everyone more bought in. And even better is you can split the party at the table with everyone there, set a timer, go back for 5 minutes or whatever, and that's great. That's fun. But my favorite way of doing it is when you say, hey, you got a free Saturday, just me and you are going to play for like 30 minutes, because then nobody knows what happens. Mm-hmm. Maybe they find out some of the consequences in their own game, and then it's so cool when that character comes back, that person comes back and joins the table and is like, let me actually catch you up on what happens. And so yeah, guys, you can totally keep splitting the game. Just maybe put 4 or 5 episodes in between every split.
Yeah, we'll think about it.
Yeah,
our party's a little volatile, so who knows what's going to happen? It's D&D, right?
It is. Well, and you guys, okay, let's talk about this. You guys are hanging on by a thread. Like, the thing that's keeping you guys together is just like the proven ability to at least somewhat keep each other alive in dangerous situations, or the utility of, like, say, McKenna to Atlas in terms of getting to the Sunmaker, and Clive being able to actually pilot better than everyone else. And so it's pretty like it's a razor thin. It's holding you guys together. How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's good.
I've never.
No, I'm just kidding. It's like, it's not like, I don't know. I think it's nice too because it's something different from, at least from what, like, the ones I've watched. Like, you obviously have a couple characters sometimes in a party that have like butt heads. I mean, Alice and McKenna butt heads all the time, but it's kind of nice because it just adds like a little different element to a party. Like, we're not all happy-go-lucky and loving and all that. But in the same sense, we have similar goals, or at least our goals are in the same kind of places or direction. So it definitely adds a different element to it than what I see a lot of times, which is it's like a lovey-dovey group kind of thing, which isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad to have a very happy friendship group, but as of right now, it's kind of, I don't know, it's very realistic in my head of like a group that basically just met each other. They're not all buddy-buddy. They are hanging out by a thread.
I've never played in a campaign where there's like so much tension between two characters. And I do feel like Atlas and McKenna go at it. Like, there's some clashing there, but it's really, really fun. And it's funny because I also feel like McKenna's character is somewhat similar to mine. And I also feel like Nathan's character, Atlas, is somewhat similar to Nathan. And so it's funny to like play these characters who are somewhat like ourselves and to clash in character, but then in real life, like, Nathan and I are great friends and there's never like any tension there. And so it's interesting how it clashes in game, but it's totally fine out of game. And I get sassy sometimes as McKenna, and so it's fun to like watch that clash a little bit with someone who's, I would say Alice is pretty type A and McKenna's like type Z, in like terms of how she functions in the world. Yeah.
I think
What about you, Sam?
I think I agree a lot with what Nathan was saying about it just being realistic. I mean, especially with the backgrounds that our characters are coming from, it wouldn't make any sense for them to just randomly meet up, especially on a prison planet, and then all of a sudden just be best buds. And
Right.
like for me personally, I'm usually playing one of the extremes on either side, like McKenna and Atlas. So it is kind of a lot different play style for me to play Clive and have him kind of be the mediator almost, at least in a lot of the scenarios, especially because he's not doing it because he likes McKenna or Atlas or he's like friends with them, but more because he sees the value in them and trying to keep a relationship together coming from that viewpoint is something that's completely new to me playing D&D anyway. Plus, I think it just adds a bit of excitement to every single scenario, especially when all three of us are involved. Because in a typical D&D setting, when you have a campaign who's coming out like they're all buddy or all together, have known each other for a while. In this case, none of our characters know in any given scenario what the other characters are going to do, so it kind of creates this heightened tension, like what Courtney was saying, that I think just adds a lot of excitement and keeps the audience more immersed because they aren't able to predict what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say because I've done both, and this is probably like definitely a little more extreme than some, but in a good way. But the whole you're already buddy, or like there are a lot of games where and this is not a knock at all, but I think of like Critical Role's campaign 2, where they all are definitely not connected in any way, and like after the very first episode, you're kind of like, okay, I can see how you're together, and then a week's time passes, and you would think that they've been together for months. And it's definitely like there's a lot of doing that in role-playing games for convenience sake of getting the story to feel like it's flowing better and quicker and all of those sorts of things. And I love that we're not doing this in for quote unquote convenience sake of bringing the group together. It's happening very organically, and there has been really cool moments. Like I think of McKenna and Clive dancing and teaching Clive to dance in our what I call our season 0 episodes, when we were still learning, getting into the groove of even sharing our show with everyone who's listening, and it makes those moments of friendship or of actual just positive working together, not just being forced to work together, start to shine more and feel more authentic. I was thinking about the games we played for next month, and you guys probably were like, Isaac, shut up, you're being really annoying. But when I texted you guys and I was like, holy cow, I had to sit back for a second, because I was like, did I just run that game terribly? Because there was so much stress. And then I was like, no, that's awesome. Everyone had fun. And then again, when I was going back and working on the audio, I heard everyone laughing all the time. And I was like, oh yeah, we had a great time. And I was like, this is good tension, good drama. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tension right now. I think especially as we're getting closer to the Sunmaker, McKenna has this expectation to see a friend, and Atlas has this expectation to see a tool, and Sam has this expectation to get answers, right? And so we're all going after this person for different reasons. Yeah, it's been a really interesting.
Yeah. And just to give you guys a heads up, it has been 2 weeks and 2 days since you guys have been together.
Wait.
Since I know I don't. Yeah.
That is crazy.
2 weeks and 2 days.
That's an eventful 2 weeks.
It's been a crazy 2 weeks.
No way. That was a year, at least.
Yeah.
I think you're getting your reality time and your Starlight time mixed up.
Yeah, are we basing this off like a noise
But-
sometime? Or?
Hey. Nanoi does run slightly slower. This is Stardate time. Come on, this is like Universal Day.
Kind of. Oops, sorry.
Um,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, kind of bouncing off what Courtney said, with like how things are going. How does McKenna feel being so close to like the Sunmaker? Well, hypothetically being so close to the. Oh wait. Hold on, don't answer that.
Well,
Wait.
we are getting closer to
Nathan's
the
having a Nathan
Sunmaker,
moment.
so I can just answer that. Well, we're just getting close. We're like getting closer to solving the mystery, right? So, McKenna has. Well, everyone knows that we saw in the Christoc shard.
Say it one more time.
The Christoc shard.
That's close. We'll give you a C-.
Okay. How do you say it?
Christos shard.
Okay. Everyone else try. Come on, Nathan. Let's hear you try
Christos
it.
Shard.
Wait, Isaac, say
That's
it
pretty
one more
good.
time.
Christos shard.
I know. I'm not too. I already can't speak, so.
I almost want to call it the Christakis shard.
Or you can
So,
call it whatever.
I'm
you
gonna
want.
call it that. But so we saw in that shard, right? We saw the Sunmaker kill himself, right? And so McKenna has doubt about what she's gonna find, while being hopeful. She sees some element of her friend, and in some form or another, whether it's hologram or it's in an entirely different form altogether. Like she's hopeful, but also like pretty aware of like the cult that he started on Nanoi, and being nervous about that. And so McKenna, ideally, she hopes to find her friend, but is also understanding if her friend is not present. Yeah. And she's like very aware of the harm that can be done in brainwashing in a cult. And so I think she would also be like pretty upset with her friend for starting what seems to be another cult.
Cults are bad children.
Yes.
Don't join cults.
Except for mine. You have to pay $100 to get in, and
What do you get for that $100?
oh, you get to give me your social security number too,
Oh,
and your firstborn.
Should I give you my PIN number as well?
We can talk
Okay.
about that. We can talk about that. We don't want it to be too easy.
The three numbers on the back of my debit card.
Yeah, the security code.
Yeah. What's that? Oh, that's the United States government. I got that.
Shh, the FBI is listening.
Yeah, FBI, open up.
So, I have a spicy question here, and I think that the viewers will love it. In Atlas's episode Missed Call, there is a moment where he gets inside the Dukar Gold Casino, and a beautiful tiefling comes walking towards him named Astrid. And in the most non-cringy way, Atlas rolls a terrible charisma check to kiss her up the arm.
Up the arm.
No, hold on. No. It's just her hand. Hold on.
It was just a hand.
And he slowly stopped at the elbow.
A little bit of drool left.
Oh my god.
How did it feel? Like, that was a pretty awful fail.
Well, I mean, someone has to add some like comedy, to the to the episode.
Is that what we're going with?
No, honestly, when I rolled so low, I literally died inside. I was just like, oh no. Like, Atlas is this guy that like usually doesn't make a fool out of himself, right? He was just gonna do it in a nice gentleman way, like just gentleman, no strings attached, just a gentleman, and then he just awkwardly does it, and I'm like, oh no. So, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, just add a little comedy flavor.
That's what I tell Courtney. I say, no, I just kissed her hand in a gentlemanly way. It always ends with me getting slapped.
I mean, it could have been that bad. It could have been
All
that
the
bad.
time.
She didn't slap him. It's
Right.
good. Also, though, talking about
That
Astrid,
was funny.
though, I don't know if she just seemed, I don't know if it's just because Isaac being Isaac, but she seemed as if it was like there's more to, like, I don't know if she has like her own type of like plan, like behind the scenes kind of thing. Not with Atlas necessarily, but like just like her in the Tetsup. Like, I wonder if I don't know if she's like what her plan is. She seems like she has more. I don't know, it's just because she's so high up and she's with that schemy little family. But like, yeah, I couldn't like get a good read on like.
I won't lie, when I listened to the episode and that whole interaction, and then the interaction of when Atlas was leaving, I was getting really strong, for all you Elder Scrolls fans out there, I was getting really strong Dark Brotherhood vibes. I was like, she's got something else going on. There's no way. So I'm right there with you.
With a name like Astrid, and I really tried. Like I envisioned this glimmering dress, you know, like these beautiful calves that you see on in the high hills, and I was like, I am Astrid. I am Astrid. I'm sexy, powerful, and let me just tell you, there's a lot of backstory there.
You felt it, man.
Took
Hey,
on the
Felt it
character.
when she was
Sorry.
speaking.
For all the listeners, though, behind the scenes, I want the audience, because sooner or later, I know Isaac's gonna have to do it, but behind the scenes, Isaac's gonna have to role play. So, role play. He has refused to.
You want to know what was funny? What was funny about that episode? Pulling back the curtain, double pulling it back to looking at the recording studio I was in. So I was in San Diego when we did that game, and the best room literally to record in was my room in the closet. So not only am I like taking on this like the essence of Astrid, and I'm like, I'm powerful, I'm poised. When we finish, I'm literally exiting the closet. I'm literally leaving the closet finally. So I don't, you know,
Boy,
somehow
it looks
this
like
game is
Clive isn't
becoming-
the only one on a self-discovery journey.
Oh, at least I know my memory. Okay, all right. So I gave you a hard time on this, and I probably will for a little bit until someone else does something dumb. But Sam, how frustrating was it for you to leave empty-handed at the end of your game?
For clarification, I didn't leave empty-handed. I did find something.
Oh, sorry, almost.
Now, I am quite frustrated that it wasn't anything really related to what I was looking for, and to then find out later on that I missed a huge chunk of it. I would say it was quite frustrating. And if Clive actually had known that he missed on something like that, he would probably be in a bar somewhere in the corner, just kind of drinking his sorrows away. So
McKenna knows that feeling.
I am kind of excited, though. I'm as frustrating as it is. I think I'm a little more excited to learn some information from our future episodes, just because the gang is all back together, and I think Clive really thrives kind of in that environment where he can not necessarily be behind the scenes, but Atlas and McKenna are such boisterous characters that he can kind of do his own thing in the background a little bit. Because that's always what he's been good at.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's kind of, the deadly shot that nobody sees, that sniper.
Who misses everything.
Hidden away.
Oh, the sniper who misses everything. Nathan.
All right.
Man, I feel like I'm being targeted.
Let's give Sam a break here. Let's give Sam a break, okay? We'll give a little teeny spoiler. There is an altercation in the future, and we finally see what a badass Clive
He did
is.
a pretty damn good job. Let me just throw that out there.
I'm just gonna say he hit the bullseye.
Which
Saved McKenna's life.
Oh, he did.
It's true.
Saved a lot of lives. Saved a lot of
Right.
things. Which I do want to say, little shameless self plug here. Because this is, space opera setting, there's things we have to create. So part of it was kind of like creating certain feats and stuff as they went into level 4, and to allow Sam to make Clive into the soldier that he was and give him those things. So shameless plug is, if you want to find out more about those feats and special things that you could plug into your own game, just check it out at Patreon. It's there.
Let me tell you, they are pretty cool feats, and I definitely chose one right away without even thinking about it. So I think you guys are in a real treat.
Yeah, and when we release the next episode, we'll have to that episode, and we go through it with this Q&A. We'll have to kind of talk about these feats and share a little bit about the world building for people who are listening and exactly what those feats are.
For people who would be interested in pursuing that further, what tier is that at? Is that at the $1 tier?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
And so is McKenna's journal entries
Ooh.
that actually tell a lot of information.
Yeah, those are fun to read. Does anyone else have any questions or thoughts or comments?
I have one more for Atlas. Atlas, if you had to pick a side between McKenna and Gorn, who would you choose? You have a gun to your head. You have to choose right now.
Probably, truthfully, not just to be a part of the party or kiss ass, I'd probably choose McKenna's. The reasoning.
Thank you. I've needed that.
The reasoning behind that, just so people don't feel like I'm a sellout for Atlas, or but is that so Gorn has almost killed Atlas. Atlas has not forgotten that. We're gonna move on from that though. For anyone, any comments? But is that so he's almost killed Atlas, and
just to clarify, that was when Atlas was down, took a knee. Yes.
But he so Atlas just has not forgotten that. Atlas has very kind of like Isaac said. In some of our interactions some of Atlas's interactions with Gorn, he has been very close to just lopping off his head. But it's his sense of being an Acer and also kind of having these kind of deals and businesses and stuff kind of like black market deals in a sense. It's like he sees Gorn literally as a tool, which I think people can tell. He's just trying to get his end goal. But yeah, if he had to choose, if there's any critical moment or anything, he'd choose McKenna.
Thank you.
See, everyone leaves fluffy and happy.
Yes. Fluffy and
As she
happy
gets in the
over
way of him and the Sunmaker, then different story.
Boy, that turned quick.
here. No comment. No comment.
Again, volatile party that can turn on a dime.
He did say he'd pick me though.
So there you have it.
We have that on record now.
Yes.
Well, if no one else has any questions or comments, I do have one very last one, and it is specifically for our Patreon members, because I'm trying to think, December of 2020 or it might have been November, Phil Ilkhan entered the scene and was rather ominous in how he helped you guys. Not that he helped that much, but that said that he'd be watching you. I, unknown to you guys, put up a poll for our Patreon and said various things. What is Phil Ilkhan's role? Like, why is he watching them? What is his plan? And long story short, got a vote, and Phil Ilkhan has finally re-entered the scene. So for our Patreon member who's voted on that, how do you guys feel about that, entering back into your story?
I personally like it, just because I like the character. But yeah, there's not really too much I could say yet, but like, yeah, he's... Wait. Make sure to not point at Nathan moment and like mixing up faces that I'm having with names. This is gonna sound super bad. Just to clarify though, this is the guy that when I went in the ship and I looked okay. Okay, yeah.
Is that guy?
That's exactly what that was. Okay, so yeah, I just like the character. Like he's just so I'm excited to kind of see where what happens with him.
He reminds me of that, not necessarily evil, but that mastermind behind the scenes that's pulling all the strings. So I'm curious to see if that actually is the case, or if he just somehow ends up being a non-important character in the future. I also really, really love the intimidating atmosphere around him. I think it is just like not in your face scary, but just like kind of gives you this uncomfortable chill kind of thing whenever he's like in the room.
I love, outside of the story, I love that people are voting to make decisions for the story. I think that's a really cool way to involve the community. Within the story, Phil Ilkhan makes me super nervous. I remember when we first interacted with him, and he totally wigged McKenna out. And I imagine that when we interact, I'm going to feel that way again. And he's just a weird guy with an immense amount of power, and that makes McKenna extraordinarily nervous, especially considering her background.
Perfect. Well, I'm excited to find out more. I know a little bit more about his character, obviously, but I'm discovering the NPCs all the while, all the quirks of their personality. So I am curious to learn more and see where our Patreon supporters and community continue to drive and send the story with these votes.
Wait, I just realized something. If Phil Ilkhan was Gorn's guards the whole time, then he would have heard her say, "I'm the Moonmaker," in the temple, and that he's part of the
Yeth?
The Yeth.
Oh shit. And guys, with that, I think that is a great place to end this Q&A and find out what's going to happen in the future.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's awful.
Yeah. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It's been a real treat and pleasure. And, the Starlight crew, we sign out and we say thank you. So, see you later, Spacers.
Yes.
Bye,
Take care, everyone.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Starlight. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. For early releases, exclusive RPG content, and other bonus material, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/starlightadventures. And to reach us for questions to be aired, email us at thestarlightadventures@gmail.com. See you next Tuesday, Spacers.